So what is going on with the price of Bitcoin and crypto? Well, stocks are at all-time high. Well, it is very simple. If you want to join the trading, here you've got the QR code up there. There's up to $3,000 free. We're using low leverage. But let's start by seeing what is happening. We've got this falling trend line from 126 that yesterday, we almost broke it. We almost broke it. Almost got above it, but then it turned into a pin bar and got rejected as well. And why is it that we are unable to break this? You could make this up to being a falling wedge pattern, just a range here, which is quite to the downside, but we are starting to hold up on another long-term trend line. Okay, which is good. This is where most people are manipulating and most people are capitulating and getting out. But what I am guessing is we're going to break and we're going to go to the upside. And my target is right around the 117. That's where we kind of have the max pain. But what is currently happening is options are expiring on December 26th, on Friday, and it's $25 billion worth. And there's a lot of put contracts that are in at 85,000, and then there's a lot of call contracts that are over 100. Some of them go up to 120, and these are the year-long options expiration. So guys bought this stuff pretty much January of last year, or this year actually, because we're not in 2026 yet. And so it's a big deal. And right now it is a what is the terminology? Using a beach ball and pushing it underwater. You can only hold it underwater for so long before it pops, because of the fact that, like, look at stocks. We're already above 6,900 again. The dollar is doing well. It is risk on at 98. If we were seeing this guy pump over 100, it would be kind of like, okay. And everyone on Twitter and I can't stand Twitter because it just makes you feel nauseous. Them calling about the BOJ rate hike. Yes, we are over 2. If we're looking at their 10-year, it is all-time high, but it's pushing down, right? And they're not selling treasury bonds. So the United States' treasury is not jumping up to where it was last time Japan started selling, treasuries. Well, this was actually way back here. This was in 1981 when we were at 15%, but it was earlier this year, right? Earlier this year, and we are much higher. Okay, we are at almost 5%, and now we are not. So that is good. Risk is looking on for stocks, and what stocks have that crypto doesn't is they have 401ks, they've got pensions, they don't have this giant gamma wall of sell pressure. So what I'm trying to tell you is Bitcoin and crypto is being suppressed. Okay. Everyone thought that the Bank of Japan was going to create this massive headwind, because I'm sure you guys have seen it. Every time the Bank of Japan raises rates, Bitcoin gets hit by 30%. Well, every time that has happened, Bitcoin was already up high. It was rolling over, and it was just a catalyst, an excuse for people to sell. This is different. It is tanked by 36%. Other Solana, I think, is 45. Ethereum was like around 40. XRP was like 50. So they all hit, and it's now rotating upwards. So it was already priced in. And normally the Bank of Japan, they hide what they're doing with the Fed interest rates. And then we just had our hike, or our Fed meeting that actually wasn't a hike. It was a cut, and it was pretty dovish. It wasn't that hawkish, but Bitcoin still decided to go down. And it's because of these options. This is kind of like the final year-end headwind that we're getting ready to. And we're stuck here. But once we've got that wall pressure breaked away, we can finally start moving, because what the option market does, and this is one of the things that I hate crypto, and I hate that we've got future contracts that close on Fridays. They're only open during market hours, which is horrible for a supposedly decentralized form of currency, this asset, which is Bitcoin, and the whole market. Because what happened, I guess I'm getting ahead of myself, but what happened yesterday? Okay, we pumped to 90, right? and then we started to retrace. Well, if we look at what happened on Friday of last week, we had a gap form, right? We had a gap form, and it was right between here, and when we opened here, and so we had to fill it. So they filled it, and as soon as we filled it, things started going like normal, because yesterday we went to what is that? What does it say? Almost 91,000 before it retraced and filled it perfectly. And then now, today, things have gone down considerably through this magnet of the CME here, but we filled. Every time you see these CMEs, and I keep keeping track of them because they're complete magnets, they end up hitting, and then they start becoming walls as resistance and support. That's hence why 85 is pretty big. We had a big gap there. And that's why 93, this was the one that held on for, 3 months or so before it got filled. But my point being is, I'm scared for Bitcoin at the moment, but I'm not entirely crazy worried because of the fact that, yes, there's this elongated downward trend line, but the wall is going to be removed here on Friday. Because what happens, okay? Option sellers, they want to have people expire with not in the money. People make money on options when they're in the money, when their strike price is in the money. And the majority of the option contracts, the major puts are at 85. The major calls are at 100. The max pain is around 96 to 102. So I suspect between now and Friday, we might get a push above 90. But right now, every time we have price get pushed up, you've got option sellers selling so that it stays pegged. And then every time we get pushed way down around the 80, 83, 85 mark, well, you've got option buyers pushing price up because they're trying to keep these guys out of the money. They don't want to pay these guys. So the Chicago Board of Exchange doesn't want to pay up. It's plain manipulation. That's why price is pegged between 83 and 94. But once that is gone, there's no headwind. And that's why stocks are performing so well compared to Bitcoin. Is stocks, most everything is at all-time highs. I mean, looking at Tesla is at all-time highs. Looking at Meta, Meta could be doing better. Apple is near all-time highs. The majority of them, I like the index of the S&P 500. It's above 6,900. If we are collapsing, we would not be above 6,500. Yes, this is going to break at some point. At some point it will. But as of right now, the only reason why we are hovering at 87,000 and not close to 100 is because of what is happening with the options on Friday. And I get a lot of people are talking about this. They're talking about, hey, here's a left shoulder, here's a head, we're going to bump up, and, maybe, right? I'd like to see the 117. That's my target. That would be the right shoulder. And then we would test the trend line again. And then everyone says, we're going to the 70, we're going to the 60, right? And if I look at the moving averages, which don't have a whole lot of validity in them because they're such delayed indicators, and we've had such a crazy fall here, but a lot of people are calling about this head and shoulders. And my just gut feeling is that, okay, that would be the neckline, and we break below that. And then of course, what is this between the top to the bottom is 28%. So when you broke the neckline, you would be, that's way too far, 29%, which would basically be touching the 200-day. Yeah, could that happen? It certainly could. But truthfully, I'm in the park that we go where the blue line is going. It might not instantly happen like that. We might go to the 100 and come down, maybe touch it again, then come up here to my 117, maybe go down before we have this euphoric move. But the euphoric move is going to be over 150. And then once we're at the 150, then we might see the massive capitulation happening. But this is just exhaustion, right? Because if I'm being honest with you guys, the amount of open interest with the options is creating Bitcoin and the entire crypto market being stuck in a block. We're like, where the hell is the Santa rally? Well, everything is moving with the Santa rally. Because look, Bitcoin is, as I'm live here, it is at 87,200. It just continues to go down. If I look closely at the daily again and I zoom in, we are getting pushed down, but we are holding the longer trend line, which tells me that this is just a spring. This is the beach ball. The beach ball is being suppressed. Same thing as it was being here. You've got accumulation, then you've got distribution. Okay. I get people on the fact that this could be a bear flag, because bear flags here. Let me move something else. So, and get the stochastics, the RSI out of here. Okay. Bear flags go boop, and then they either come down in a falling wedge, right? They either come down in a falling wedge, but they don't typically, this could even be a bear flag too, but usually they break to the downside and they break hard, right? Is that what we're seeing here? Yeah, you could be in the realm of that, but we need some macro shock. We need some macro uncertainty. And what has currently happened as of right now? We have all the headwinds, the majority of them out. We had the triple header of the options expiration with stocks that could have created a huge catalyst for sell pressure. That was last Friday. And then we had the Bank of Japan, the rate hike there. And the Bank of Japan, yes, here, I got to get back to my stock stuff. Their interest rates have gone up, sure, right? But they have not sold any U.S. treasuries. The dollar is suggesting that things are risk on. You've got the VIX, okay? Ooh, the VIX is kind of scary because we're at 13, okay? Usually this thing capitulates and raises super high when we have massive sell pressure. And so people might be thinking of selling because of 13, but usually around December, okay, this is the monthly. Got to go back. February, March, April, okay, July, February, June, March, January, October. That's 21. Okay. What was last year? April, March, December. It was at, low was at 11 of December in 23. Okay. December of 24, we were at 12, and now we're at 13. To me, it's just nobody is trading during Christmas, right? So people are all just trying to hang out with their family. And usually when this thing spikes, it's usually when we've had a bottom, and we've already had that bottom. Okay. I'm in the ballpark of, not to give hopium, but to say, guys, it looks good for at least the next month or two. And I'm waiting for Bitcoin to finally just unleash. Okay. We've pushed the spring down. Let the spring go. Solana is being held down by all this macro, not macro uncertainty, but the fundamental uncertainty with the options expiring. Okay. Maybe let me remove the moving averages so that, and then because look, the big wall here is right around 180. This section up here is really where all the buy and sell pressure is up here. Down here, it's like, why are we hanging out down here? Well, the only reason why we're hanging out down here is because of the trend line, the downward trend line that we need a break. We are pushing on it. So look at this. Normally, every time you push on it, gets rejected. Push on it, gets rejected. Tries to get there, can't get there. Now we're there, and every day is tag, 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 tag. So think of it as like a floor, and it's not held on by a lot of stuff. And every time you jump, it gets weaker and weaker. Or if you're punching a wall, or you're using a hammer and you're demolishing it, every time you hit it, it gets weaker and weaker, and then finally it breaks out. We are going to see the breakout coming here soon, right? And I do believe that the bottom has been in. As much as everyone thinks that it hasn't, currently in the state of the market right now, I'm talking the next month or two, the bottom is in. Do I think Bitcoin can eventually go to 60? Yes, but in order for it to go to 60, we need stocks to break under. God, what would we need stocks for it to break under 60? Would have to break under this massive support line right here, this point of control, which is at 6,000. Stocks would need to dive bomb down, and eventually they'll break this upward wedge, because normally wedge patterns do eventually break. Okay. And we followed the upwards. So it is tagged. It is tagged that wall, tag that wall, tag that wall. And yes, we haven't tagged the wall yet. So I'm suspecting the next time we tag that wall, we're going up to maybe 7,500, and that would be the euphoric right there. It would fit right with my thesis of crypto and Bitcoin going to 150 plus. That would be a good catalyst for us to, okay, now it's time to roll over. Okay, things have happened. My grandma is telling me how much money she's making in crypto. That would be enough, right? This train of thought saying that we have hit our bull market stride just on apathy, not on euphoria, never happens. It goes against human psychology and emotions. We need to have this blow off top, right? And we need to have the influx. And what happens with Trump? Really, the only headwinds that we have with Trump right now is the uncertainty with potentially going to war with Venezuela. That is the only thing that is potentially going to take markets down. And right now for crypto, what's being held is those options, all the gamma selling to peg price between 85 and 90, because they want people to not have their options expire out of the money. The max pain is much higher than that. It's 98 to like 102. And then we have massive amounts of longs that should get liquidated above 110 to 120. Okay. They're going to clear out before, and we're going to see an euphoric drive. And so truthfully, if I'm being honest here, if we break after this weekend on crypto and we instantly run straight to 110, 117, okay, that's when I think, all right, that happened too fast. That was kind of maybe a little bit of the euphoric that we're getting. And that would be enough for me to say that, all right, maybe this left shoulder, head, and right shoulder is perfect. Maybe that. But if we have a potential slower grind, right, where everyone's like, oh no, dead cat bounce, we got to 100. Oh, see, look, I told you, it went back to 90, and then we went to 105. Oh, see, then it went back under 100. Then it went to 117. That's where a lot of the buyers are. Now we went back down to 100. That's when I would say that we have some continuation going on here. If it happens just as fast as it went down, we don't need to have both of those on there. That's when I would kind of get scared. But RSI is real low. Volume is low as of right now. We've got massive trend line shooting down. The people calling that we're going down another 30% without any rally is they're out of their minds. They don't know what they're talking about. As much as people say that stocks aren't forward thinking, you've got literally IBIT holding damn near like 30% of the crypto supply. And you think that they're not in control of what's going on here. To me, this does not look like a bear flag. This looks to me like accumulation before distribution. Accumulation before distribution. Boom. Major run up. Same thing's going to happen. MicroStrategy, they're being majorly pushed down as well. So it's because of they're controlled of what's happening with Bitcoin, but they are damn near way oversold. Okay. What about on the weekly? How oversold are they? They're super oversold. This stuff is here's a pretty good support right here. Okay. So everyone calling they're at their 200 day. They're at their 200 day. So that is my thesis. I hope you guys have a wonderful Tuesday and Christmas Eve tomorrow. And if you want to join my program, boom, have some free money on hand. Now is a pretty good time to start DCAing in and hodling and getting in. And if you're trading, use low leverage, 3 to 5. Don't like all these guys on the internet that are saying that they're doing 25x. They're using major cross margin and they've got way more deep pockets than you do because they'll use massive leverage. Okay. I see so many whales doing 25x on millions of dollars, but then they have no liquidation point. So their conviction is price is going to eventually go up. And, I'm only using 5% of what I have of the dry powder on hand. So I can use cross, right? It works for them. But for us mere mortals, it does not. 2 to 5x is better if you're using isolated. If you're using cross and you don't have a liquidation point, sure, maybe you can get away with using more, but that becomes a problem because we saw what happened on October 10th with the massive liquidation wicks. As their prices gone down, their margin calls went up and they didn't have enough to cover and they couldn't deposit fast enough. So most of those guys lost 60 million plus. Okay. So don't look at what people are doing and say, oh my God, they know something that we don't. People are fear mongering. And I didn't even look at what the fear and greed is on crypto right now, but we don't continue to just dive bomb down when we're already at extreme fear, when the stock market is at all-time highs. Like, that's not what happens. Not what happened. The beach ball is pushing down. It is getting ready to explode up. This is Johnny Crypto, here to help you guys make some money.